Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all well. In today's video I'm back with another client tutorial, and today I'm going to be doing a soft glam on my lovely client Rebecca. She also does the best bouncy blow dries ever, so I'll leave her Instagram in the description box for you, so make sure you check her out. I'm also going to be focusing on how to do eyeshadow and how to work around the eyes with clients that I've got lash extensions on as well. So I'm going to be giving you all my tips for that. So let's get on with the tutorial. So the first thing I'm going to do is sanitize my hands. You guys know that I'm so big on my sanitation, so make sure you're cleansing your hands in front of your clients so that they can see that you've actually sanitized your hands. Then I'm going to go in and clean Rebecca's skin with some micellar water. This is just a standard Garnier one. I just like to make sure that my client's skin is fresh, free from any moisturizer, free from any products, because my clients do go outside with no makeup on when they travel to me, and pollution can get in the way and that kind of thing, as well as the weather. So doing a quick cleanse before an appointment is always necessary for me. I just find that it helps the makeup application. Then I'm going to go in with the Beauty Bay Day 1 Moisturiser. Guys, this is an amazing makeup prep product. So I'm going to take a couple of pumps of that on my metal plate, and I'm going to go in with a Beauty Bay Iconic brush, and I'm just going to buff that into the skin. This moisturiser is so lightweight, and it actually has blue light protection in it as well, so it protects against like phone screens, laptop screens, all that stuff. So it's so lightweight, it just blends seamlessly into the skin, it sinks in nice, and it's just a really nice moisturiser for underneath your foundation. And I also like to use a brush when I'm applying moisturisers, serums, oils, primers, that kind of thing. I just think it gives like an even coverage to the skin. I also think skin prep is so important when it comes to doing clients. A lot of my clients wear fake tan on their face. My client Rebecca on this video hasn't got any tan on her face, but most of the time clients have tan on their face, and I just like to go in with that micellar water and remove any of that and make sure I'm putting a really good moisturiser down, because fake tan on the face can make foundation look worse. It kind of dries the skin out, so you really need to make sure that you're cleansing and hydrating that skin before going in with your foundation if your client's got fake tan on the face. And I just do it anyway because I find that it makes the makeup last longer. I think you get a better finish. I think your products blend nicer. So I'm just making sure that I'm really prepping the skin in this way. And as you can see, I am taking a long time to really buff this moisturiser in, really get it sinking into the skin, really creating that flawless base. The skin prep is so important. Honestly, I get so many questions about what's the best foundation to use, how can I minimise texture, how can I minimise creasing underneath the eyes. Honestly, moisturiser. A really good cleanse, a really good moisturiser is all you need to prep your client's skin. I am going to use a primer in this tutorial, and I'll talk about primers later on. There's only a couple of primers that I actually like, but honestly, a good cleanse and a good moisturiser is all you need. Alright guys, so I'm going to move on to brows. Recently I've been loving brow powders, so I'm going to take the Anastasia Beverly Hills brow powders in the shade Soft Brown and Chocolate. These are my absolute faves at the minute. I just think they give such a more natural brow than the dip brow, but they also kind of keep a fluffiness to the brow and the structure as well. So I'm just using an ABH 7B brush, and I'm going to brush the brow hairs up and then start filling in the brows. I tend to work from the bottom of the brow upwards, so the most product is kind of like underneath the brow, and then I'm going to use whatever's left on my brush and go through the top of the brow. I'm just dipping between all the shades, between the chocolate and the soft brown, all different shades, to do Rebecca's brows today. I'm not using like one specific shade out of the split pans or anything like that. I just kind of mix between every single shade and kind of see how I feel about the shades. But I'm just completing the brows, just making sure they're all nice and even. As you can see, you can still see the brow hairs, which is what I love about brow powders at the minute. I'm obsessed. They're my new obsession. So I'm just going to fill in the other side of the brow as well. Again, you can see I'm brushing the brow hairs up and then just filling them in with the product. I do actually use soap brows and brow gel and that kind of thing, but I don't do this at the beginning. I like to do this at the end, because when I feel like you're working with face brushes, they can kind of knock the brows a little bit sometimes, and your brows can get a little bit imperfected with the brushes. Then I'm going to take the PLOUISE base. I'm going to use shade number 4 and shade number 2. I'm going to mix those two together. And as you can see, I'm only using the tip of the MAC 252 brush. This is going to really help with working with the lash extensions. So don't put the product on the whole thing of the brush, just literally the tip, because if your brush is covered in product, you're going to easily knock the lashes, and it's actually so hard to get product out of lash extensions without making your client feel uncomfortable by tugging at the lashes, and without ruining the extensions, and without like tugging them and making them come out and whatever. whatever, so best just to avoid getting product in the lashes altogether, which is why I'm keeping the product only on the tip of my brush and using small amounts at a time as well. Don't overload your brush with that product. And as you can see, I'm just carving out the brows first, and I'm really pulling that eyebrow up to make sure that I'm not going anywhere near the lash extensions first. So I'm kind of just adding the product onto the eyelid, dispersing it, making sure it's even, and really carving out that brow. And as you can see, I've left that lash line free of any product for the moment because I'm going to show you what you can do. So I'm hooking the brush round the back of those lash extensions, and then I'm tilting my brush upwards and kind of like flicking the brush up. So I'm ever so slightly tucking the brush behind the lashes and placing it on the lash line and kind of flicking it up, rather than going in with my brush going directly forward. I'm hooking behind the lashes. I hope that makes sense. It kind of makes sense when I say it and when you see it, but yeah, so don't go with your brush directly straight forward, hook it behind the lashes. So as you can see, I'm just applying that P. Louise base all over the lids and just making sure it's all nice and even with that MAC 252 brush. I also like to apply it in between the brows as well. I feel like this makes things easier when it comes to blending foundation, because if you don't blend that base between the brows, your eyes can kind of like look stuck on, if that makes sense. So it just makes everything blend together a little bit nicer. So I'm just popping that between the brows and making sure that I do extend it on the inner part and the outer part of the eye as well. Then I'm going to go in with an Anastasia Beverly Hills blending brush, and I'm just going to buff the edges of where the P. Louise base is meeting the skin. This is just going to make sure that, again, when we come to blending foundation, everything's going to blend seamlessly and we're not going to have any cakiness or harsh lines where that P. Louise base is meeting the skin. And I'm also going to tap over all the areas where I put the P. Louise base. So on the eyelids, I like to tap over with a fluffy blending brush. All this does is removes any excess P. Louise base and just makes everything a little bit more seamless. So when it comes to putting eyeshadow on, we're not going to have a really big build-up of P. Louise base because we've got a nice, even, flawless coverage. I know people like to tap with a flat brush like the 252, but I just find a synthetic blending brush so much easier. It just depends on personal preference. See what works for you. Everyone's preferences are a little bit different when it comes to makeup, so that's totally fine. Right, we're going to move on to eyeshadow next, and I'm going to go in with the Amrezy palette with Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is my fave palette to use on clients at the moment, just because of this shade, New Yorker. Oh my goodness, this looks so good on everyone. I'm taking a little Beauty Bay brush from the Iconic brush set, and I'm starting at the lash line, so literally right at the lash line, and I'm taking tiny, tiny, tiny amounts of product at a time. The reason is I don't want to load up my brush with loads of eyeshadow, because then you're going to get loads of fallout in the lashes. And again, like I said, product is actually really, really hard to get out of lash extensions when you are doing someone else's makeup. So don't load your brush up, just use tiny amounts of product at a time and really, really build it up. As you can see, there's a lot of different clips here where I've dipped back into the palette and then come back again, dipped back in, come back again. But if you do get a little bit of fallout in your client's lashes, the best thing you can do is take a really big, fluffy, clean blending brush, so no product whatsoever on this brush, and just gently brush over the lash extensions while the client's got their eyes shut, and it just tends to like flick off any fallout, but don't rely on that. It's really the best thing to go in with small amounts of product at a time. So I'm actually patting on this eyeshadow, and what this is going to do is set the P. Louise base in place. So you're actually setting the base whilst building up your product. And by tapping the product on as well, you're going to get an amazing pigment payoff. Your eyeshadow is just going to look flawless, no patchiness or anything like that. So really do take your time with this step. So once I've finished packing on that shade and once I'm happy with the shape, I'm just taking that into the crease, as you can see. I'm going to take this tiny, tiny, tiny little blending brush from Morphe. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. It's amazing. And I'm just going to use that to blend the edge. So I'm not trying to take the eyeshadow any higher. I'm just using it to purely blend that edge. And the reason is that the next step, when we add the next shade, it's just going to blend a lot easier. There's going to be no harsh edges, no lines, no patchiness, nothing like that. So the next shade that I'm going to use is OG from the same palette, the Amrezy palette, and a Peaches Makeup PC10 brush. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with this brush. Guys, synthetic brushes are just my vibe at the moment. Like, I rarely use natural hair brushes anymore. But I'm just taking that right on the inner corner of the eye, and I feel like this kind of adds that kind of shadow in the front of the brow, which kind of slims down the nose. I just really love this effect at the moment. So I really like to focus my eyeshadows on that inner area first before I start blending it out. And also, again, guys, I'm taking little bits of product at a time. I'm not taking massive amounts of eyeshadow on my brush. This is purely for control. You're going to control where you blend in for a start. And it's also because of the lash extensions again. So small amounts of eyeshadow at a time, work slower, work with small amounts of product, because honestly, you will thank me for it later when you don't have to clean anyone's extensions out, and you won't have any lash techs ringing you up saying, what have you done to my client's lashes? So I'm just blending this out, and as you can see, I use a very, very light pressure when I'm blending out eyeshadows. So I actually like to let the bristles and the product do the work for me. I like to work with like a really light hand, and I think this is how you get those amazing blends, guys. So next I'm taking a OBrien brush, which is a clean fluffy brush, and I'm just buffing out the edges. I just use that to purely buff that outer eyeshadow into the skin, into the PLOUISE base, just to make sure that that edge is flawless. And again, as you can see, I'm doing it on the other side, so I'm just using really light pressure just to make sure that everything is blended, everything's nice and seamless, and you've just got an amazing blend going on. It's all going to be good. So next I'm going to move on to the waterline. Oh my goodness, guys, the Linda Hallberg eyeliner is the one. This is the brown core eyeliner. I'm obsessed. So I know that the waterline is something that a lot of you struggle with, or I get a lot of DMs saying a lot of people struggle with. So the best thing to do is get your client to look all the way up. This is going to create the most comfort for them. They're not going to kind of be getting caught like looking at the pencil or anything like that. So getting them to look up, they just can't see the pencil whatsoever. And then with one hand I slightly pull the eyelid down, being very gentle of course, and then I just go in and sketch with the pencil. These pencils are really soft and pigmented, so they're absolutely amazing. Then I'm going to go in with the shade 1988, which is a lovely dark brown, and I'm going to take the Zoeva brush, and this is perfect for this. If you don't have this brush, you need it, because this is the only brush that I will literally use for this step. I don't even use this brush for anything else really, just literally the lower lash line. And I find that by buffing a brown eyeliner on that lash line when you've done the waterline just makes everything so much more easier when it comes to doing underneath the eye when you've done the foundation, if that makes sense. So I just buff this really close to the lash line, this brown eyeshadow, and it kind of merges with that pencil that we've got in the waterline. Whoa, we're already on primer. Okay, so I'm going to use the Cover FX Water Cloud Primer. This is amazing, guys. Again, blue light defense, pollution defense, and I'm going to use that Beauty Bay brush again and just disperse that across the skin. This is a really good primer for oily skin. Actually, it's kind of good for all skin types, but I don't really use this on dry skin. I prefer this on oily skin. It's got a cooling effect, and it's kind of like a gel consistency that dries down. It feels so nice on the skin, guys. But this is expensive. This is an expensive product, but it's worth it. It's amazing. It makes your skin feel nice. It's very cooling, good for oily skin because it's so lightweight. It almost has like a mousse texture to it, like a really light, airy mousse. It's hard to explain, but it's actually really, really nice. So boys and girls, if you've got oily skin, this primer and the Beauty Bay Day One Moisturiser are absolutely amazing. You need them in your kit, you need them in your makeup bag, you need them in your life. They're absolutely amazing. And the Beauty Bay Moisturiser is only £6.50, guys. I know what you're all thinking, what? That's a bargain. Yeah, it is. These two are amazing, but I like to do my moisturiser before I do eyes, so that gives it time to sink into the skin. And then I like to put my primer on just before foundation, just so that the foundation will grip to the primer, but I'm not bothered about it gripping to the moisturiser. I just want that to actually prep the skin, sink into the skin, all that good stuff. Going to use my favourite foundation. This is my absolute fave to use on clients, the NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. It's not natural and it's not really radiant either, so I don't really know why it has that name. I'm mixing the shades Punjab and Barcelona. My client does have fake tan on. She did it that morning. It was developing throughout the day because she was going to a concert. So I have gone a little bit darker than my client's face, just so you guys know, because his tan was developing. So we went a little bit darker so that when it came to the night time, she would all match. Some clients don't like wearing fake tan on their face, which I can totally understand because it does kind of dry out your skin. But anyway, I'm using a Peaches Makeup PC27, I think this is, and I'm just buffing that into the skin. I like to use buffing motions to really buff it into the hairline, and then use patting and pushing motions to really press that foundation into the skin. This is also what's going to make your foundation long wearing, by really pushing it into the skin, because then honestly, this type of technique where you apply foundation in this way, where you're actually pushing it into the skin with a brush, really makes things last a hell of a lot longer than if you just buff them on top of the skin, because you're really compressing the skin and the foundation together, and with that primer it's going to grip onto it. It's just going to make everything a lot more long wearing. Around the eyebrows I do like to do a little bit of buffing as well, because I don't want that foundation to be harsh around the eyebrows. I just like there to be a thin layer just so those areas of skin are meeting, and because people have hairs around the brows, of course, like the brow is a hairy area, I feel like you don't want to load foundation on that area because it can highlight the hairs on the face. Also guys, remember when you are doing foundation to take it down the neck. I don't know why, I feel like sometimes this is something that makeup artists do miss sometimes. Like, I always take it down the neck just to make sure everything's cohesive, blended, smooth. You really don't want there to be any harsh lines with your foundation or anything like that. You just want everything to look nice and flawless. And also what I like about this foundation, guys, which I will mention, is that because it's not a matte foundation, I would describe this as kind of like a semi-matte foundation, which is the formula that I actually prefer to work with on clients and on myself actually. I like to make sure that I prep the skin according to the skin type. So if it's dry, I'll go in with a heavier moisturiser. If it's oily, I'll go in with a lightweight moisturiser and a really good primer. But I find that semi-matte foundations look good on all skin types, because matte foundations I find dry so fast, and I'm one of those people who likes to buff foundation in for about half an hour. Like, I like to really spend time on that foundation, making it flawless. I don't want to be rushing, you know, like with matte foundations, how they dry so fast and you have to work so quickly with them. I'm just not about that. I love a semi-matte finish. It's my favourite. So that's something to think about. I never really say what formulas I prefer. I don't actually think I've ever discussed what my favourite formula of foundation is in terms of like matte, dewy, semi-matte, whatever. But yeah, semi-matte is my absolute favourite because I feel like you can tailor it to the skin type more than limit yourself to how many clients you can use it on, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm just buffing that foundation in, making sure it's all flawless and really getting in all the nooks and crannies underneath the eye, around the sides of the nose, and just making sure that everywhere is covered, everywhere's flawless, we've got that coverage, and we're looking amazing. Okay guys, so next I'm going to creamy contour using the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop concealer in the shade Mahogany. Guys, I've been loving this Can't Stop Won't Stop concealer. I don't know why, I'm just obsessed with it. Ever since I was sent it, I love the formula, I love how full coverage it is, I love the tones, and especially this Mahogany shade I find is amazing for like a medium tan skin. It's just so warm and so buttery. It just really warms up the skin without kind of doing that cool contour, which is actually something that you guys said you struggled with when I asked you on Instagram. You guys said that you find that your bronzer goes a bit muddy or your contour goes a bit muddy. You might be using too much of a grey shade for your skin tone, or too much of a cool tone, should I say. But yeah, honestly, go with something warmer because I just think it makes you look so much more sun-kissed, bronzy. I never ever use cool toned contour products or cool tone bronzers. I just never have. It's personal preference, and I know you should use cool tone products, but honestly I just can't. I can't do it to myself. But yeah, I really love this shade Mahogany for cream contour. And also guys, I'm using a Peaches Makeup PC21 brush. This is the best contour brush you will ever use in your entire life. It's amazing for cream products. It's kind of angled, but you know how an angled brush is kind of on the side? This is on the front. So when you're doing your cream contour, you just literally press it into the skin and it does all the blending for you. It's absolutely amazing. I do not know why no one has made this brush before, Peaches and Cream. But honestly, these brushes are insane. Like, I think you get 4 for £15, which is obviously so good. So I'm just buffing that into the skin, and I actually find this NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop concealer formula really easy to work with. It's creamy, but it does kind of like dry down a little bit. Gives you enough time to work with it. I don't know, I'm just obsessed. I really like this formula. Then I'm going to use the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer in the shade Ginger. This is medium 2. I absolutely love this shade in the NARS concealer. And I'm just going to apply that underneath the eyes with a MAC 252 brush. So as you can see, I am actually taking it right up to that brown eyeshadow. Obviously, I am going to buff out the lower lash line, so it doesn't matter too much if I create a little bit of a harsh line. And this concealer is so creamy as well, guys. Like, I know it's called matte, but it's not. It kind of is. It has a matte finish, but it's so creamy at the same time and so hydrating. This is my favourite concealer for underneath the eyes. It's so beautiful. So I'm just using a Beauty Bay brush, which is a synthetic brush, which is my favourite at the moment, as I did say. And I'm buffing this into the skin by using pressing motions, buffing motions, and getting my client to look all the way up just so I can get right underneath that lash line. So this shade in Ginger is actually a little bit lighter than the foundation that we use, so it is going to add a little bit more dimension in contrast with the cream contour as well, which is amazing. I don't want to do too much of a bright under eye, I just want everything to merge together really nicely. So I'm just going back in with that contour brush as well and making sure that those barriers between the concealer and the cream contour and the foundation are all flawless, seamless, looking beautiful, looking fresh. So I'm just using light pressure again and tapping motions and making sure that's all nice and flawless. I also find that this concealer is amazing for creasing. Like, there's not many things you can do to prevent creasing. Where there is a dip in the skin, you can't actually fill that space with makeup. I know a lot of people think that concealer will cover creasing, but it won't, because it's literally a physical crease in the eye, so it is very difficult to fill. But this formula, as you can see, is beautiful and it does make for a very flawless under eye. My tip would be for creasing is making sure that the under eye area is very hydrated, but I also think that using a matte concealer like this NARS one really does help with creasing. I find that dewy concealers and really hydrating concealers do tend to settle more than matte concealers. I'm not sure why, it's just my personal experience as a makeup artist. I do think that lightweight, dewy, hydrating concealers do tend to sit in lines more than matte concealers do. I think it all depends what you use to set and everything like that as well. So yeah, the NARS concealer is my recommendation. I absolutely love it. There's not a skin type that I've come across yet that I don't like it on. So I like it for hydrating, I like it for dry skin, everything like that. Then I'm going to set the under eyes using the Huda Beauty setting powder in the shade Banana Bread. Guys, you know how much I love this powder. It's flawless, it's airbrush finishing, it's just beautiful. So I get my client to look all the way up and I pat this underneath the eyes first. So I always work with the under eyes first because that's the area that creases first. So I like to do this area first before I set anywhere else. And as you can see, I'm just pressing the product in first and then I'm going to start to buff it in once it's set. So I like to press that on, make sure everything is covered, and then start buffing it into the little nooks and crannies in the skin. So as you can see, I'm going right underneath the eye, pressing that in, making sure that's set. And guys, how flawless does that underneath the eye look? Oh my goodness, this powder really does something else. I actually prefer this setting powder to any other setting powder that I've used before, and I think I've tried them all, guys, honestly. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comment section, because when I first tried this powder, I actually hated it, and I know that may seem hard to understand now because I absolutely love it and I talk about it all the time, but I actually did find it really hard to work with at first because it is a very thick powder. I know you might think powders are all the same, but they're really not. But anyway, I love it now. And I'm just going to take that New Yorker shade on a pencil brush and just really buff that underneath the eye. So yeah, the setting powder, guys, I set it right up to that brown lash line. So when we do buff this eyeshadow in now, it just makes things so much easier. And also because we have got that brown eyeshadow on the lash line that we buffed in when we did the waterline, it actually makes doing the underneath the eye so much easier because you don't actually have to pull down the eye or touch the skin or anything like that and ruin the foundation. You just literally buff that straight on, use a clean blending brush to buff the edges. So that's a little tip if you are struggling with the lower lash line and blending on the lower lash line. And then I'm going to move on to bronzer. I'm going to take the Laura Mercier Candle Glow powder in the shade number 5. Oh my goodness, guys. I used to actually work for Laura Mercier. Not many of you know that, but I did work on Laura Mercier counter for a long time. This was one of my favourite products while I was there. And I'm going to mix it with the Fenty Beauty Islanding Bronzer, which, oh my god, this tone. I absolutely love the Fenty bronzers. I love the shades of them, but recently I've been feeling like they're getting a bit dry. I don't know what it is about my Fenty bronzers, but I do feel like the formula's becoming a bit dry the more I use them, so that's something to think about. I personally think that you can't beat a MAC mineralized skin finish, and I love the Laura Mercier Candle Glow powders. They're just stunning and they're so nice on the eyes as well. They kind of add like a shimmery bronze, but it's not glitter, it's more of a glow. And it's very, very subtle. It's hard to notice, actually. But anyway, they're really nice. They were actually one of my favourite products when I worked for Laura Mercier. So I will continue to buy them. But yeah, I'm just tapping this into the skin first. I like to tap my bronzers all over where I've put that cream contour, just to kind of set that area, because I don't use setting powder to set those areas where I've put cream contour, because otherwise you can make it look a little bit muddy if you're going in with cream contour, then setting powder, and then the bronzer over the top. It's too many powder layers. So I'm just tapping that around the cheeks, around the hairline, just everywhere where I want to add bronzer, everywhere where I want to create a shadow. But yeah, definitely use your bronzers to set your cream contours. You'll find it works so much easier. Then I'm going to go on to highlight. I'm going to use my favourite Doll Beauty Duo, and I'm going to use the shade Shine Bright, which is the one where I've hit pan. This is my favourite, as you can see, and I'm going to use a By Bonnie brush. This is slightly bigger than a blending brush for the eye, so I really love this for highlighter, and I'm just going to place that on the high points of the cheeks. So again, I'm just focusing that product first before I start blending it upwards and outwards and all that good stuff. So I'm just focusing that product on the cheeks. Look at how blinding that highlight is. Oh my goodness, I love it. These Doll Beauty highlighters, guys, I mean, you all know about Doll Beauty highlighters, I'm sure. They are absolutely amazing. They're so stunning. So once I've added all that glow to the areas where I feel like need it, I'm going to go in with my favourite blush. This is the Jordana Tisha Cosmetics Fruit Punch Blush. Oh my goodness, it's like a red orange with a gold fleck to it. Oh, it's so stunning. I love it so much. And it gives that kind of like, not sunburn, but that kind of like being in the sun, sun-kissed effect, because it is so orangey red. It's beautiful, and it adds this amazing glow to the skin because of the gold flecks in it. So I'm just using a Peaches Makeup PC03, which is a great brush to use for blush because it doesn't actually add too much product, because it is kind of like a flimsy brush. It's a very soft brush, so it doesn't add too much blush, which I think is great because I personally prefer a blush that isn't overly pigmented, just so you can really build it up. I hate when you put too much blush on, then you've got to buff it out. So yeah, this brush is amazing for blusher, and this blush, oh my god, look at that tone. I'm obsessed. This is my favourite blusher of all time. Then I'm going to go in with soap brows. All I do is spray this with a little bit of setting spray. I use the Morphe Continuous Mist to spray this, and take a clean spoolie, and I'm just running that through the brows to keep them fluffed up. Guys, if you've never tried soap brows, you need to try them. I've only been using this product since Christmas, and I see everyone using it all the time, but I've never actually used it myself until Christmas because I just thought it was kind of the same thing as a brow gel, but it's not. It makes the brows look thicker, keeps the hairs in place. It just makes your brows look so much more thicker and that you've got more brow hairs. I'm not sure what the technology is, but it just works. It's amazing. And I also think I like using the soap brows more than like Pears soap, for example, because I just think it's more professional than whacking out a full block of Pears soap during an appointment. And again, I'm just taking some mascara on a clean mascara wand, and I'm just going to coat the lower lashes. Obviously, I'm not going near the lash extensions because we don't need to, and I don't want Rebecca's lash tech to start shouting at me and sending me messages about me getting mascara in the lash extensions. So just keeping it to the lower lashes for now. So I'm just using a couple of coats on those lower lashes to get them popping. And also, guys, another thing to remember is if you're going to need more mascara, if you're running out on your mascara wand, please don't double dip it back in. Bin that mascara wand and get a new one to use, because honestly there's nothing worse than double dipping. It really frustrates me when people don't use disposable mascara wands on the clients. So yeah, make sure you're always using a clean mascara wand if you need it. And then I'm just taking a little bit of that Doll Beauty highlighter again on the inner corner, just to add a little pop, a little glow to that inner corner. I love an inner corner highlight. And then I'm going to go in with lip liner. This is the Morphe lip liner in the shade Sweet Tea, which is my absolute favourite lip liner of all time. You guys know that I'm obsessed with these Morphe lip liners at the moment, and I'm just going to line the lips with that. Rebecca has a really good lip shape anyway, so it's super easy, but I like to rest my left hand underneath the chin and kind of rest my right hand, which has a lip liner in, on that left hand, and this just gives me some stability. Couldn't get my words out there. Gives me some stability when I am doing the lip liner, so you can do it nice and neat without touching the face and without marking the foundation or the skin or anything like that. So yeah, that's just a little tip as well if you do struggle doing lip liner, because most of the problems associated with lip liner are actually to do with stability. So that's just a little tip for you. Then I'm going to go in with my fave MAC Honey Love lipstick. Haven't used this in ages actually, and I'm just going to pop that on the lips using a MAC 242 brush. This is kind of the same as a 252, just a little bit smaller. It's my favourite lip brush to use. So I'm just going to pop that straight on and kind of blend it with the lip liner, just making sure everything's nice and seamless. Then I'm going to go in with two glosses. I really love this combo at the moment. Dose of Colours Honey I'm Home and HMB Cosmetics Ride or Die Gloss. It makes the perfect brownie nude. Like, oh, look at that. This is the lip combo, guys. I'm obsessed with doing this lip combo at the minute. But yeah, I'm just applying this with that 242 again. Just all over the lips, making sure that it's all buffed into the lip liner, all that good stuff, and making sure we've got a nice even coat. And I'm just going to lock everything in place with the Morphe setting spray. I love the mist on this because it doesn't actually like give any setting spray dots. It's just a fine mist, so I absolutely love this. And that is the finished look, guys. Flawless, full coverage skin, long wearing makeup, and how to work with lash extensions on your client as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe, hit that thumbs up button if you like this video, and leave me a lovely little comment in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!